Hey, I'm Andrew Lovell and I oversee manuscript operations for Scribe. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to lock in your manuscript. Let's be perfectly clear. When we say you need a finished manuscript to start the publishing process, we don't just mean a document that's pretty close to a finished book. We don't mean a file with just a few typos left. We mean a finished manuscript. Combing your book for edits is fine. It's great, in fact. You want your book to be perfect, and that's important. But it's crucial that you get as much of that work out of the way before starting the publishing process. Adding a paragraph now rather than after the interior layout is finished can mean the difference between a few minutes of work and a few hours of work. This is not hyperbole. Our interior book layout team tells us that, for most authors, about 50% of the time they spend laying out the book comes from the author's last-minute changes. So getting your manuscript locked in now literally translates to thousands of dollars of savings. It's worth taking the time to proofread thoroughly. There are two basic methods we recommend to proofing your manuscript before locking it in. The first is to do it yourself, using a simple trick that almost all professional authors do, as we'll explain later. The second is to hire a professional. In our experience, your best bet is to do both. Professionals put in the extra time or hire someone else that will. Step 1. Read your manuscript out loud. As we explained earlier, there's one trick that separates almost all of the professional authors from the amateurs. It's one of those little things that seems simple and doesn't take long to do, but for some reason seems too intimidating for many first-time authors. Read your full manuscript out loud. When our co-founder Tucker Max was first writing I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell, he had a team of proofreaders working through the book. First, he proofread it, then he had the help of professional editor friends, and finally the publishing company did their copy edits. He didn't think a single mistake would sneak by, and he happily locked in the manuscript. A few months later, he recorded his audiobook, and as he read through the manuscript out loud, he was horrified to find small mistake after small mistake. Not only did he catch a few typos and other obvious mistakes, but more importantly, he found places where the wording just sounded off. If the words roll off your tongue, they'll also flow smoothly in readers' heads. Because he waited until so late in the process to read it out loud, it was too late to make edits to the book. Learn from Tucker's mistake and read your manuscript out loud. Make your changes before you start the publishing process. If you find taking the time to sit and read out loud difficult, and a lot of authors do, we recommend having a friend help you out. If someone is sitting in the room with you, listening as you read through the manuscript, it'll create the social pressure you need to actually do it. Plus, you'll be sure to truly read out loud and not skim over any sections. We don't want to waste too much time hammering this point home, but it's seriously important. Don't skip this step. Step 2. Hire a professional proofreader. The other method of proofreading that we recommend is hiring a professional proofreader or copy editor. I know it seems crazy. You've just read your book out loud, you had your editor friends read it, and you're pretty confident there are no mistakes. But you're wrong. There's a significant amount of data on this, but average people only detect about 60% of errors, and even professionals usually only catch about 80% of errors. While reading the manuscript out loud will catch a lot of the small sloppy mistakes and wording issues, there's another set of issues that professional proofreaders are looking for. Small grammatical rules that native English speakers often don't even realize exist. Do you know the difference between an N dash and an M dash? Do you end sentences in prepositions? Do you start sentences with prepositions? These kind of mistakes are not life-threatening, but they make the difference between a professional book and one that comes across as amateur. There are a lot of services that offer proofreading. The main distinction is between those services where you submit the manuscript and they manage their proofreading team internally, and marketplaces that allow you to find your own freelancer. The first is simpler, but the marketplace option tends to be more effective. Editing services. If you choose to go with editing services, you'll likely be charged a flat fee. You can ballpark these options at a cost of about $250 to $500. You'll submit the manuscript and within a week you'll get back a finished product. Simple. Here are a few of the services we've tested and recommend. Postscripting, Kibben, and Scribendy. Marketplaces. The other alternative is to use a marketplace. Most of those options will allow you to list a job for free, and the marketplace will take a percentage of the proofreading costs. The proofreaders will usually work on a per hour or per word basis, somewhere between $20 and $30 an hour, or 0.75 to 1 cent per word are normal. But some will be open to charging a flat fee as well. The total cost should be similar to the prices we mentioned earlier. Here are a few marketplaces we've tested and recommend. Upwork, People Per Hour, and Media Bistro. The real benefit of using a marketplace instead of a service is the direct engagement you get with the proofreader. Not only will you be able to choose someone who seems best suited for your project and who has been rated well by past clients, but you'll be able to convey extra information to them that might be useful in their proofreading work. Step 3, working with your proofreader. Once you've found the right proofreader, you'll need to assign them the job and work with them. We spoke to our team of professional proofreaders to gather up feedback on what they need out of a job assignment, and this is the advice they came up with. Number 1, define the role. As one of our proofreaders said, proofreading is rarely just proofreading, no matter what the client calls it. There's a lot of responsibility that can be put on a proofreader, and it's important to be clear about that responsibility. Traditionally, a proofreader's task is specifically to find any errors, like typos, grammatical mistakes, and spelling mistakes. However, it's not uncommon for proofreaders to take on more responsibility because they're the last line of defense against a faulty manuscript being released. We like this, so we actively encourage it. Our proofreaders know that their role is really proofreading plus, and it includes copy editing and fact-checking as well. Number 2, explain the audience. Not every book is written in the Queen's English, nor should they be. For a proofreader to know what to edit and what's intentional, it's important for them to understand the audience for the book and the message it's trying to convey. This can be as high level as whether or not profanity is okay, or as specific as the country of origin to make sure that the sayings and spellings are correct. Number 3, point out what needs work. Often, although not always, there are issues that you know will come up. For example, we recently worked on a book that was written in such a way that it jumped back and forth between past and present tense. We went through and fixed this problem, but it was worth mentioning to the proofreader that this was an issue we had run into, and to pay special attention to those mistakes. Other times, you can just ask the proofreader to work through it carefully with their usual processes. The same goes if you have a tendency to make sloppy typos or misuse a certain type of punctuation or any other clues as to what they might be looking for. Step 4, finish the proofing process. Once a proofreader is done, they should send you back a Word document with track changes. This is the industry standard, and it's worth confirming with proofreaders before hiring them that they'll be tracking the changes for you. When you receive the document, you should expect to find hundreds of small track changes. Most of these will be obvious mistakes that you're happy to quickly accept, but some may be phrasing recommendations or questions about pieces that are unclear. Be sure to go through all of these changes and make your own decisions about what should be implemented and what shouldn't. Step 5. Are you ready to publish? At this point, you should have a manuscript that you're confident enough to lock in. It's worth noting that you'll probably never be 100% confident that your manuscript is ready to go. No writer is. But at some point, generally after all of these steps, there's nothing else left for you to do other than lock it in and put it out. Don't waste weeks or months trying to get it from 99% perfect to 100%. It's impossible. Recognize when diminishing marginal returns have set in and move on. Once your manuscript is locked, it's time to really get started with the publishing process. But first, let's make sure we have the other 5 pieces of the pre-publication checklist locked in and ready to go. Step 1, read your manuscript out loud. Step 2, hire a professional proofreader. Step 3, work with your proofreader. Step 4, finish the proofing process. Step 5, ready to publish.